Mr. Chairman, thank you, Commissioner, for being here today. I want to certainly register the fact that my office continues to receive input from constituents that they are not getting their questions answered from the IRS. I realize you're touting an 85% efficiency level and that everything's just amazing at the IRS. I continue to have concerns that the $80 billion in IRA funding is not giving us the results perhaps that were promised. Also, certainly there's a lack of candor, I believe, from the administration about how the funds are actually being utilized. Particularly troubled that the administration continues to implement policies across numerous agencies, regardless of whether it is legislated authority or not. Student loan forgiveness, critical mineral agreements, and the recent changes to the 1099-K requirement from ARPA are all examples of this kind of executive overreach. The development of the IRS's direct e-file system also appears to fit that description. While IRA, the bill, so-called Inflation Reduction Act, provided $15 million to conduct a study of direct e-file and enumerated the study's parameters, it provided funding for only 9 months and said nothing about actually implementing that system. The 9 months authorized for that study have now lapsed, as I'm sure you're aware. Can you tell me explicitly what authority the IRS relied on to create an entirely new government-run system of filing taxes, since the law only provided authority to conduct a study on the direct e-file system? And I'm not looking for other examples of the IRS helping people file their taxes. I get that. I want specific language from the federal code authorizing the particular pilot.
Yeah, absolutely, Congressman. I appreciate the question. So we do have a responsibility and an authority to offer taxpayers different approaches for how to meet their tax obligation. I can give you the exact statutory site for that. What's critical about the direct file solution is that it is an option. There is no mandate for anyone to use this solution should they choose it.
But you're saying there's direct authority to do so?
There's direct authority to implement the tax system in a way that provides tools and solutions for taxpayers to meet their tax responsibility.
Generically speaking, but
yeah, well, paper, electronic, calling us on the telephone. Not everything is delineated precisely in law. So, for example, if we create a Adobe version of the tax form that you can fill in online, we've done that. There's not a specific legal authority to do that, but there is a legal description of the commissioner's responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is to provide taxpayers with avenues for how they can meet their tax obligation. And this is just one avenue. It's not a mandate, it's an option.
Well, I understand that which may not be a mandate does not always mean there's the authority to do so. And I would argue that that is the case right now. I'm specifically troubled by the claim that there's that authority there when I don't believe that there is. But let's go back to the topic I've discussed with you and Secretary Yellen previously on multiple occasions, and that's audits targeting families earning less than $400,000. I continue to have concerns that, despite the claims from Secretary Yellen and others, that the administration cannot and will not fulfill its promise about audit targets and also meet its claims about increased revenue. Last year, you said in response to a question for the record that the IRS is committed to ensuring that none of the funds provided by the IRA will be used to increase audit rates for small businesses and households making less than $400,000 annually relative to historical levels, and that's a quote. The phrase historical levels means something higher than the current audit rates. Is that accurate?
No, it's not accurate. We've been public. I don't think. Let me tell you what the current situation is. Tax year 2018 will be the base year that we will utilize to make sure that the audit rate for those that earn less than $400,000 does not exceed that.
Reclaiming my time because time is of the essence here. I'd like to learn more about that, but I would also like to know if the IRS can provide us with a distributional table for the $561 billion and the $851 billion estimates of revenue generation, and do you know when we could plan to see that?
Well, we have a public report on that, so I would be happy to engage with your staff to understand what are the specific questions or additional layers of information beyond the public report.
How did you decide to choose 2018 as the year to establish the historical rate levels of audits?
Well, in large measure because it is a historically low rate, and we wanted to assure the taxpaying community that the Inflation Reduction Act would not be used to increase the audit rate among middle and low income. And so we chose 2018 as a historic low rate to provide additional assurances. And we wanted to be specific so that we can be transparent and hold me to account and the IRS to account, because each year we publish our audit rate in our data book. So you can go into our data book right now and see exactly what the audit rate is for 2018. And then when we finish with tax year 23 and the audit rates are complete, you'll say, oh, let me see. Did they meet their mandate? And it should be all public.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you've generated about $500 million, $500 million, I think, in your words, of revenue from about 1,600 targeted taxpayers. That would be on average of just over $300,000 per taxpayer. How many resources, the dollar figure of the IRS taxpayer dollars, do you think it would take on average to reach that level?
I'd have to get back to you on a specific, but it certainly has a very positive ROI. In general, and this is something that the Congressional Budget Office has publicly reported, that in general, we return $6 for every $1 invested. So on average, you should expect about a 1-to-6 ratio. So we spend a sixth of those resources to get the job done, on average.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.